So this session's on strategic messaging and tactics. And that means, it's focused on building trust, and creating insight, and driving action. So would today be successful for you if you gain some insight and exposure to a tool that frankly generates more employee commitment and generates more external sales? So specifically, gain some insight to why great messaging is so important, some insights into good versus great messaging, some tools, a template for creating a great message, and seeing a demonstration of actually building one. And your commitment is, if you don't like it, well, leave and gracefully and quietly. But if you like it, share with some other people and try it. And if you love this, celebrate it and tell everybody and come to more of my sessions. And if I can ever help you and your team, let me know. So I start off, the foundation of almost everything I do involving people starts with the why theory. All right. It's a foundation of communication. It's a foundation of working with people. It's broken into three parts. First, you got to build trust. People don't listen closely to what you have to say unless you have trust. Then you got to do the analysis and communication to generate insight for you and insight for others. Then you got to drive action, right? That's what leaders do. So let's take each one. Building trust. It's your most important asset. And it's always at risk. You got to think of it strategically. Most companies don't even think of it as a strategy. It's key. And what's the recipe? I learned a long time ago when I was trying to figure out relationships. It's two basic ingredients. Did I demonstrate respect? And did I demonstrate I really care? And how I do that? Well, anytime you do things through questions, you're demonstrating respect and care. And one of the reasons is you're not trying to convince them. You're just trying to help them create more insight so they can make better decisions for themselves. In order to do that, we need to explain why, not just share facts, because without the why, they're just facts. There's no insight without facts. And frankly, take good notes, because when you don't take good notes, what might the other person think the reason is? You didn't care, wasn't important, wasted their time, they'll probably forget. I mean, use an example. Let's say you're at the dinner with 10 people, and you happen to have a waiter that's got a perfect memory. And they go around, they don't take any notes. What are you all thinking? Oh my God, we're going to be lucky if we happen to get what we ordered. And if it happens to come out right, well, we just got lucky. The next is insight. Your analysis and then your communication to others. Think chess, communicate checkers. Now, how do you create insight? Well, the recipe is simple. There's cause and effect. There are only 5 things that cause anything good or bad to happen. Who was involved, what happened, when it happened, where it happened, or how it happened. And what's the effect? It's the why. And the why is where all insight comes from. And using the why, you use it to prioritize concepts and initiatives. So your role is to integrate all the complexity of the chess, but your job is to share by making the complex simple. And then you can drive action. And what's amazing that most companies haven't figured out, but the world-class ones, IBM, Johnson & Johnson, Microsoft, Proctor & Gamble are the best examples. Here's what they know most people don't understand. Most people are not motivated by gain. They're first and primarily motivated by avoidance. Safe choices, avoiding experiences they don't want, and then secondarily, experiences they do want. But the key driver of most decisions is, what's in it for me? Is it a safe choice? I'm going to avoid things I don't want. And then am I going to get a gain? And by the way, not just based on what they're telling me, but I understand how it compares to my other options. So here's a typical what we know about how the brain works, the basic decision process. And by the way, I define customer different than most. I think a customer is an attitude, and it's someone who depends on you. So some customers are outside your company, but frankly, employees are customers because we depend on each other. So what's the 4 stages? First, people first look to see if you're acceptable. If you hit them right away with how you're special, you're not as likely to be successful because people rule you out before they rule you in. An example, if you got 30 resumes, you don't read 30 resumes. You pull out 5 that look like they were spending some time on. If you go to a social event, you don't focus on everybody. You focus on the ones that fit your needs, your beliefs, your values, your whatever. So what goes into acceptable? Do you trust what you see in the option? Does the option have the major things that you expect? Right? Does it meet your needs and wants? And they first reduce their options down to a few. And when they look at the few, if they all seem similar, well, the only mistake they can make is pay too much. So frankly, subconsciously, it's in our interest to just everybody's acceptable, all our options. But the key to business success is your differences. So you got to grab their interest, that wow factor, something they'll understand and something they wouldn't expect. And then specifically, the differences versus other options. Here are the things we're similar, what you expect, but here's a few things we're very different. And what's in it for you, those differences? What's unique? Why is your option, in a few ways, unique? How does it reduce problems and risks, or how does it generate more gain and trust? And then action, why now? Now, grabbing attention's hard. There was a study done, 2000, the average attention span of humans was 12 seconds. That dropped 13 years later to 8. And even goldfish are higher than that, was 9. There hasn't been an update to the study, but what's the implication? In all seriousness, the importance of communication that's concise, attracts attention, is interesting, and they understand the differences versus other options, and then lead to action. So again, communicate checkers. Your job is to make the complex simple. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So I think in terms of my clients, we break facts into 4 types, and we know which bundle those facts are. We agree on them. We talk about them. Gold facts are accurate and really important. That's the all hands on deck. That's the stuff we all know. That's the stuff we want to communicate. Vampires are facts that happen to be accurate, but they're less important. And so by adding in the collection of things we talk about, it acts like a fire hose and drowns out the most important stuff. Or like a vampire, it sucks the blood away from what's most important, and therefore they don't see what's really most important. It doesn't mean we ignore vampires. We deal with them. And most people that are interested in more facts, i.e. some vampires, they'll ask for it. The third type, brick walls or big walls. That's inaccurate facts, but someone else believes it. And a lot of us try to go right through them and convince them that they're wrong and the fact's wrong. It hardly ever works. Just go around it. And ghosts are important. Ghosts are assumptions we need to make. And there's 3 major reasons we need assumptions. One is we don't have time to get more facts to make a decision. 2 is we can't get the fact. It's not possible to get. Or 3, it's too expensive versus the benefit. But the assumptions are key. It's the glue that connects the gold, that makes the story make sense. The overall holistic view, the picture of the experience. So keep it simple, stupid. Don't smother people with information. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. So eliminate the vampires, which just suck the blood out of what's most important. So think of it like they call it an elevator pitch. You can call it different things, but ask yourself, who's this? This was a description. Is all the company said up front in 2009 to try to get investors. This is all they said. Most tourists booking online are about price, and hotels are one of the highest costs for traveling. On the other hand, platforms like Couchsurfing have proven over 500,000 people are willing to lend their couches as spare bedrooms. So we created a platform that connects travelers with locals, letting them rent our rooms or even our entire places. Travelers save money, and locals can monetize their empty rooms, and we just take a commission. That's all Airbnb said. Notice, it's all gold. It's important. They didn't bog it down with vampires. Doesn't mean that might not come up in future conversation, but they didn't bog it down with that. There were no brick walls. There was nothing to challenge there. And they shared the assumptions. So there's some lessons that we learned about communication. Frankly, most of us learn in high school, we forgot what we learned, but it's how we're wired. So think about it. What's the biggest obstacle in high school to getting a date? Avoid asking. Why? Fear of failure. Again, that goes back to what world-class companies have figured out. People are more motivated by avoiding an experience they don't want. They tend to make more decisions based on avoidance than gain. Doesn't mean they're not both important. So the implication to you in communications is your obstacle to success is fear. And your job is helping your constituencies internally and externally overcome fear. So what I learned, again, high school, what do you talk about? Well, most of us talk about what we know best, ourselves. And what's reality? Who cares? And frankly, it comes across like bragging, and that really works. What's the key? Identify and educate. What are they looking to avoid? What are they looking to gain? Do it through questions. Talk about them. Because the paradigm shift, it's all about them. Asking them questions, asking why, sometimes even taking notes. Why? Because trust comes from you demonstrated you really care about them and respect them. So ask them questions. And the key with questions, the important ones, follow up and follow up. Because guess what people do with questions? They first answer with facts. And when they run out of facts, they get to the emotional experience they're trying to avoid or gain. So demonstrate interest, ID, what's really important in that, gain insight. And you gain it by thoroughly looking at. There's only 5 causes of anything good to happen. So in their stories, in their questions, look at the who, the what, the when, the where, the how. But always make sure you understand the why, because the value's in the why. And in terms of keeping relationships going, yeah, you got to meet commitments, healthy relationships. It's how you act. It's how you act with the experience and what's in it for them. So you shape their opinions. And people make decisions on opinions and use facts to support them. So ask yourself, what did they hear and what's the opinion they're forming? So what's the implication? The primary motivation of most decisions is avoiding experience they don't want, and secondarily gaining experience they do want. What's important is them. They care much more about that than you. And decisions tend to be emotional, rationalized with a summary of opinions. Frankly, and people perceive their opinions as facts, but it doesn't make them a fact. So test yourself. Try this. Write down a piece of paper before you continue, and then hit pause. What store do you shop at most? And then write down, why do you shop there? Hit pause, write that down. And once you write that down, unpause. And I have a guess what's going to happen. Did you notice you're actually bombarded with marketing messages? You've been in these stores, that store that you've been in most, a lot of times. But tell me if this isn't true. You only wrote down 2 or 3 things on why. The second interesting thing is all of the reasons were opinions and not facts. And they were all emotional, rationalized with some facts if someone pushed you. What's the implication? The primary motivation is avoiding experience we don't want, secondarily gain. The importance is about them. They care much less about you, and decisions are emotional, rationalized by their opinions, which they sometimes believe as facts. Let's try another one. Write down a major purchase from last year and ask, why did you purchase that? How'd you buy it? Share the reasons why, like a car or a stereo or a house, something major that you bought. Hit pause, write it down, and then continue. I'm going to tell you what I guessed. Did you notice you bombarded with messages, however, you focused on only a few options in that decision. You didn't look at everything available. Your reasons for the decision were opinions that you stated versus facts, most of them. It was an emotional decision, rationalized with some supporting facts. Trust was really important. The differences versus your other options triggered the decision. You were motivated by a reason to act out. So what's the implication? You first looked at your options, what was acceptable that you trusted. You second looked for what's interesting to me and that you understood it. You understood, looked for the differences, what's in it for me, and then you acted with an incentive. Try another one. Write down any event that happened to you in the last year. Write it down. Hit pause. Once you wrote it down, let's see if my guess matched up. I said any experience. But what did you remember? We tend to remember things that are different than what we expect in our everyday life, that they're special, they're unusual, they're interesting. What's the implication? We want to share stuff that's unexpected, makes it more compelling. We want to share stuff that's interesting and relevant to them and enhances their insight. And clear on the difference you're providing versus their other options. One last one, really important. You can't do it right now. Trust me, this I've seen can be life-changing for people. I want you to eavesdrop on other conversations everywhere. I want you to write down what you heard. Also write down what you didn't hear. Hit pause, go through that. I'm going to predict what happened. My hypothesis is you're going to hear who was involved, or maybe what happened, or maybe when it occurred, or where the situation was and how. But my hypothesis, you hardly ever heard why. And who knows why God didn't wire us to share why. But we're not wired to share why. Once you realize that, you will share why more often. Because without why, there's less trust. And people don't listen to it, they have to trust you. If you got a 5-year-old and you tell them what to do without sharing why, are they likely doing it? Without why, there's less insight. They only have facts. And when you assume that they understand what those facts result in, well, assume makes an ass out of you and me. Therefore, don't leave orphan facts. Always give your facts a parent. The why. All right. So insight into 2 strategic philosophies. Hogs get slaughtered. It's the most typical sales approach and communication approach. It's an attitude of win or lose. Did you win the account? Did you lose it? Did you get the employee? Are they going to join us or not join us? And the approach is convince them with facts. But pigs get fat, and it's untraditional. It's the focus on the why, not the what. It's all about, can I help? And the approach is ask a bunch of questions to find out what's important to them. Assure them that you heard, you understood, and you promise you can help. And make sure they know you appreciate them. And that achieves what we talked about in the why. Generate trust, communicate checkers, share the insight, and drive action. So summary for using for your message. Will it be remembered? Try to include something that's unexpected. Motivation. Focus on what they will experience that they'll avoid, that they don't want, and an opportunity to gain what they do want. As criteria, focus on a few key opinions you hope they take away and keep reinforcing those opinions with the facts that you share in a way that creates insight and is emotional. Share the cause. There's only 5. Who, what, when, where, how, or some combination of those that are important, and immediately tie it to the why. Insight, because that'll generate trust. So let's talk about developing the message. All right, you start with a lot of ideas and you keep trying it over and over until it really seems like it's going to work and you select the best. So step 1, what are people's expectations to be an acceptable option? 2, what would they not expect that would be valuable to them as a difference? 3, who, where, and now does it fit? Draft it, try it, test it, and keep doing that over and over. And once you get it right, everyone in your organization should memorize that. So let me be more specific. Here's my secret sauce, how I used to do it. All right? Content development. I want to discover the value, so I'm searching for opportunity holes, I call them. So I start off template. What's their situation that they expect from the solution? Makes it acceptable. What didn't they expect? It's unique. That's going to grab their interest and difference. Who's this for? And why should they act now? And one of the things I realized in business, studying lots of companies, is the wider the gap between, on the one side, you're achieving their expected solution, but on the other side, the more unique you are versus what they expected, that's important to them. And the wider that gap, the more money you make. Give you an example. Take something like mouthwash, right? If you owned a mouthwash, you'd want to own Listerine. Think about Listerine, right? It's going to do the things you want a mouthwash to do, fresh breath. But halitosis. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I didn't want it. And by the way, we don't taste that good, but we kill halitosis. And who makes the most money? And who gets the higher price? The wider the gap, it's important to them, and your option is more unique. So let me give an example of where I use this, right? So when I worked on lots of new products, but one of them I worked on, I said, what do they expect from a toothbrush? Well, acceptable as it prevents cavities and healthy gums. What wouldn't they expect? Well, most people didn't know. Most cavities are in the back teeth. Well, who's it for? The entire family. And action, well, on sale now. So I turned it into a message. Is it important to you that your family brush their teeth every day to help prevent gum disease and cavities? Well, surprisingly, most cavities are in the hard-to-reach back teeth. Reach results in 51% cleaner teeth, and Reach is certified by the American Dental Association. It's different. Reach has bi-level bristles to remove that damaging debris under the gums, and it's even angled like a dental instrument to prevent cavities where they're most common, on those hard-to-reach back teeth. And Reach toothbrush is on sale now, and you'll protect your family from gum disease and help prevent cavities with Reach. And that became an extremely profitable product. Another tool, another key to my secret sauce goes back to that fanatic looking at trust. And when you tell stuff, people are more skeptical. When you share stuff, it's more trusted. So in my career, every one of my employees had this on their desk if they were managers. Try to take the important stuff you hope people hear, the gold. See if you can put a statistic on it instead of telling them. See if you can put what someone else said, a testimonial. See if you can get information that an expert, that they agree as an expert, would agree. Use an analogy, because analogy says, it's really similar to something you're already comfortable with. Demonstrate it. Or based on a question you asked, they told you. So an example, statistic, 9 out of 10 hospitals use Tylenol. Why would you trust your family's health pain to anybody else? Testimonial, I used to eat at Subway every day. I lost over 100 pounds. Look at me now. Expert, Crest has the official seal of the American Dental Association. Analogy, you hate cleaning toilets. It's going to do it for you. It's like these scrubbing bubbles. They do the scrubbing for you and clean your toilet. Demonstrate. Well, the first blade pulls back the whisker and the second blade does this, and I couldn't believe we're now up to 5 blades. Or something you told me. You said you wanted less filling, and you others told me you wanted great taste. Make your important information look to see if you can make it steady, because steady will make it more trusted. So let me give you an example using the same thing in roof replacement. This happens to be in residential. So I said, so what's a homeowner, what's acceptable? Well, they want weather protection for their home and they want a good warranty. What would they be surprised at? What could we be different? Well, most people don't know that 90% of all shingle warranties avoid the day they're installed because 9 out of 10 homes don't have adequate ventilation. And by the way, if you don't have adequate ventilation, you get the potential for mold, so you're putting your family's health at risk. Not only do you not have the warranty, and 3 is a 90% chance you're wasting money on energy bills because just 2% moisture in insulation drops its effectiveness by 1/3. So you need a comprehensive roof system, not just shingles. You need the protection of the roof plus attic ventilation. Who's it for? The whole family. And action, why now? We can give you a free estimate. So what'd that look like when I wrote it out? Do you know what's the number one cause of damage to your largest investment? It's your home. It's your roof. In fact, the Better Business Bureau recommends that you make sure you use an honest contractor installing quality material and that provides a warranty you can trust. Well, the U.S. government codes require attic ventilation as part of a quality roof system, but 90% of contractors fail to meet that requirement. Now, why should you care? Well, likely you and your neighbors have installed energy efficient improvements. Therefore, warm, moist air that used to leak out the home and wasted energy is now going into the attic. And as a result, 90% of all re-roofed homes unknowingly now suffer from 3 new major risks. One, family's health risk because your attic creates a recipe for mold. 2, an energy risk cost because, well, scientists demonstrate 2% moisture drops the insulation effectiveness by 1/3. And 3 is manufacturer warranty is void because if the system doesn't achieve ventilation code requirements, there's no warranty. So we're a Master Elite certified contractor. We'll protect the investment in your home with a comprehensive roof system installed by a certified craftsman, utilizing the most highly rated products with a golden pledge warranty, providing 100% protection and peace of mind for as long as you own your home. It will be a privilege to install your roofing system. Unlike most contractors, we assure you have a warranty that isn't void, an attic system that won't put your family's health at risk, with a recipe of mold, and you won't overspend on your utility bills as a result of damaging the effectiveness of your insulation. So call now for a free estimate. And I trained a couple of thousand roofers, 2 out of every 100, on how to share this, and it took our company from 600 million, number 5 in the industry, to over 3 billion, and eventually to 6 billion, number 1 in the industry. But this was the core that drove it. So the template for you, step 1, what's expected? The situation, the expected solution. Look at the why. Why do they want or need that? What are they trying to avoid? What are they trying to gain? 3 is, what can we do that's different, that would exceed their expectations? And step 2 is, what's unexpected? What are some of the risks? Therefore, what's our promise? What's unique about our solution versus others? And how do we prove it? How do we demonstrate it? How do we solve it? How do we make it steady? Who do we serve? Where do we do it? And why act now? Try that template. And remember the strategic power of the unexpected. And toothbrush, as I just shared, they used to be 4 for $1. Now we're getting $1.25 per brush. The unexpected. Most cavities are on the back teeth. Software. Well, back in the day, in the mid-'80s, for word processing, the best one was WordPerfect. The best database was FoxPro. The best presentations was Harbor Graphics. So Microsoft said, that may be true. We're not the best in anyone, but we're single source. It's an integrated system, so anytime we make an improvement, they'll improve at the same time. Who won? Stereo systems. It used to be, you hope you got a good nerd and you spent a lot of money for quality amplifier and speakers. Circuit City was the first to come up with one system. The stereo was all from the same manufacturer, and they sold as a rack system. Roof manufacturer, right? Quality roof material. We changed what we did at GEF. We said, we don't sell roofing. We help you build your business. We help you generate leads. We help you build capability. We help you with branding. We help you even save money in truck. We do a lot of things to help you in your business. We even created a nonprofit for training called CARE, the Center for the Advanced Roofing Excellence. Retail, quality merchandise. What did Amazon do? The ratings from prior consumers. Unexpected. Transportation services. Schedule it at a lower cost. Uber. You will get all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. Nobody cares what you want anyway. A quick little story personally from the age 5, my kids all the way up through leaving for college. They knew Dad was going to ask the same question to start off every dinner conversation. Who did you see that looked like they might have a bad day? And what did you do about it? Because I wanted my kids to grow up with a radar of looking how they can help. So some tools. Go for agreement. Would you agree? So example, would you agree it can be difficult convincing your family to go to the dentist? It can be painful and bleeding as they chip away to remove tartar. Well, you want them to have fresh breath and no cavities. Our toothpaste has a special mouthwash for fresh breath and a fluoride to prevent cavities. Unlike other toothpaste, we added a special ingredient that prevents tartar from building up. And as a result, no pain and bleeding when you go to the dentist. And we call it Tartar Control Toothpaste. It's on sale now. My team helped write that back in the early 80s. And then we sold it to Colgate for a lot of weird reasons. Johnson & Johnson didn't want to go up against Proctor & Gamble at the time. Link for understanding. It's sort of like this, scrubbing bubbles. Don't you hate cleaning the toilet tub? We're like scrubbing bubbles. We scrub the toilet and we do it so you don't have to. Resolve objections proactively. It's important to know the taste tells you it's working. Listerine kills germs that cause bad breath, and it kills halitosis. The toast you hate that proves it's working. Keep it simple, stupid. I already shared the one on reach. Stories for the lesson. It's a similar situation. I used to weigh 425 pounds, and I started eating at Subway sandwiches and walking every day. And today I've lost over 200 pounds. Eat fresh. Guilt is okay. Ask for favors. Thanks. Think of fundraising. What do they send you? They send you a gift before you've even done anything. Christian Children Fund. This is Maria. She's 7 years old. She lives in a world where clean water is a luxury and a full meal is a dream. Maria is wondering where her next meal will come from. For less than $1 a day, you can sponsor a child like Maria and help save a life. Just be there. Certain business, just repetition. Like insurance. Use specifics. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend sugarless gum for their patients who chew gum. Try it. Or ivory soap. We're 99 and 44/100% pure, but it's gentle enough for a baby's skin. Trust is key. I was amazed when Domino's did this. We heard you. Our pizza wasn't good enough. So we changed everything. We changed the crust. We changed the sauce. We changed the cheese. We're not just making better pizza. We're going to show you how. And they showed the test kitchens and the side-by-side comparison, the taste testing and the changes in the buttery crust and flavorful sauce and real mozzarella. And demo proof of expertise. We won this award, or like in Consumer Reports. This is how these compare. Involve them in a process. What's the first thing a car dealer tries to get you to do? Sit in the car and play with the knobs. Test drive it. Words can't describe it, but a test drive might. The Mazda driving experience can't be explained, only felt. With precision handling, premium interiors, and a soul of motion design that moves you before you even start the engine. Position for people who belong. The Marines, the few, the proud. And add stuff on. By the way, you also need this. You also want that. While we're at it, we can do this. Many of our companies ask for. AVG's they bring you in with a free product. By the time you know it, you're signed up for 5 or 6, 7 other products. Satisfaction guaranteed were the most important ones. Here's an example of how serious we are. Purdue Chicken did, way back when. It takes a tough man to make a tender chicken. Time Life magazine, everything's always guaranteed. And a sense of urgency to make a decision now. You see it in cars, you see it in retail, you see it in class action suits, mesothelioma. You better act now. So what's the insight, the reality? People don't know what they want until you show it to them. Interesting. Flaming enthusiasm backed up by horse sense, simplicity, and persistence is the quality that most frequently makes for success. And every sale has 5 basic obstacles. No need for it, no money, no hurry, no desire, no trust. And you got to overcome whichever one or ones are important. But the one I believe in most is what I share. Whoever earns the most trust, educates best to create insight, shares their results from your action, will achieve superior results. So some background on me, but you said at the beginning of this, it would be successful for you if you gain some insight and exposure to a tool that generates more internal commitment. You can train your team to do this, and more sales, specifically why great message is important, good versus great messaging, some tools and templates to create it and demonstrate doing that in use. Well, if you're still watching, you liked it at least some. So if you liked it some, share with some other people and try it. But if you loved it, celebrate, tell everyone about it. Come to more of my sessions like this. And if I can ever help you and your team, let me know. Thanks. It's been a privilege.